More than 337,000 Americans have now contracted the disease as the death toll approaches 10,000 right here in America.
This is going to be the hardest and the saddest week of most Americans' lives, quite frankly. This is going to be our Pearl Harbor moment, our 9/11 moment, only it's not going to be localized. It's going to be happening all over the country.
You know, Trump is the only person who could hold a press conference about a pandemic and then turn it into a fight about racism. Who does that?
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
Because it comes from China.
Racist.
It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China.
Kung flu is a term of respect. Ask any Asian.
There are one White House official who used the term Kung flu, referring to the fact that this virus started in China. Is that acceptable? Is it wrong? Are you worried that having this virus be talked about as a Chinese virus, that might
I wonder who said that. You know who said that?
I'm not sure the person's name, but would you condemn the fact
say
that
the term again?
A person at the White House used the term Kung flu. My question is, do you think that's wrong, Kung flu? And do you think using the term Chinese virus, that puts Asian Americans at risk, that people might target them?
No. I think they probably would agree with it.
Ni hao ma, Kung flu,
It's absolutely wrong and inappropriate to call this the Chinese coronavirus.
It comes from China.
This is a virus that came from
China,
the territory of China, but came from bats. This is a bat virus, not a China virus. It doesn't speak Chinese.
Do you support Marsha Blackburn's idea that China should forgive U.S. loans and bear some of the cost of what they did to us and the rest of the world?
It comes from China.
If it were up to me, the whole world should send China a bill for the pandemic. This is the third pandemic to come out of China. They come from these wet markets where they have bats and monkeys with the virus, carrying the virus, intermingled with the food supply.
China.
Yeah, I'd make China pay big time. And here's the question for 2020. Who do you want to take on China, Trump or Joe Biden? I don't think that'd be a hard decision for most people.
And now the US president has a new approach, labeling the COVID-19 pandemic as a Chinese virus. In the last 72 hours, Trump has made a point of using the term multiple times on Twitter, even defending it hours later.
I said I have to call it where it came from. It did come from China. So I think it's a very accurate term.
Apart from questions over the origin of the virus, top Democrats in the US have accused Trump of fueling racism. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden called it xenophobic.
Joe Biden is a dummy.
President Trump saying he'll stop using the term Chinese virus. Can this ease tensions between Beijing and Washington now?
It's very important that we totally protect our Asian American community in the United States and all around the world. They're amazing people, and the spreading of the virus is not their fault in any way, shape, or form.
Same question to you. Would you allow Chinese firms to build critical U.S. infrastructure?
No, I would not. And I spent more time with Xi Jinping than any world leader had by the time we left office. This is a guy who doesn't have a democratic with a small d bone in his body. This is a guy who is a thug who, in fact, has 1 million Uyghurs in reconstruction camps, meaning concentration camps. When, in fact, they said we're going to set up a no-fly zone, that you can't fly through our zone. He said, what do you expect me to do when I was over there? I said, we're going to fly right through it. We flew B-1 bombers through it. We got to make it clear they must play by the rules.
Thank you, Mr.
Period, period, period.
The Vice President and China's President Xi Jinping are scheduled to have dinner together tonight.
This is a guy who is a thug.
Just ahead of the Vice President's visit, China's Defense Ministry said it would continue to enforce that zone and is, quote, fully capable of exercising effective control.
Biden stopped short of calling on China to revoke this zone. Why?
Because they're not going to. Why would you say revoke the zone if you know they're not going to? Then you just look weak.
When, in fact, they said we're going to set up a no-fly zone, that you can't fly through our zone. He said, what do you expect me to do when I was over there? I said, we're going to fly right through it. We flew B-1 bombers through it.
Top of the agenda for discussion is China's newly declared air defense zone, which includes islands disputed by Japan. Beijing says any planes flying through must notify it. Tokyo and Washington object to this, although 3 US airlines are now giving China their flight plans.
He said, what do you expect me to do when I was over there? I said,
3 U.S. airlines are now giving China their flight plans.
we're going to fly right through it. We flew B-1 bombers through it.
The fake news, of which many of you are members, is trying to convince the public to have a recession. Let's have a recession. The United States is doing phenomenally well. But one thing I have to do is economically take on China, because China has been ripping us off for many years. President Clinton, President Bush, and President Obama and others should have done this long before me. My life would be much easier, although I enjoy doing it, but my life would be much easier if I just said, let China continue to rip off the United States, all right? It'd be much easier, but I can't do that.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In front it was a little bit frightening, but they fought with expert timing.